Yo ho ho ho! Yo ho ho ho! Yo ho ho ho! Yo ho ho ho! That's right. Grab your bottle or your barrel of grog, folks, and take a big swig. Because it's time for the Marineford War, the Paramount War, whatever you want to call it. It's volume 57 of One Piece, covering chapters 552 to 562. And I'm not alone. I am Simeon Mumkey D. Jones, joined as always by my Vice Captain, Aggie V. Rodriguez.
You were on the ship, the Thousand Virgin? The great part?
Eggy? Yep, that's me.
That big, toothy, Buggy the Clown grin on display for the listeners at home.
You know, I was missing a tooth at one point, but my mouth is just so crowded that the gap got filled in. So
you drank some milk, and it grew back.
That's right.
One Piece logic perhaps works for Aggie as well. Aggie, we just got, 10, 11 chapters of nonstop action and warfare, and chapters that somehow you can read in 5 minutes or less just because it's so many giant, beautiful images that, you know, if you don't slow down to smell the roses, I guess you could flip through it pretty quick. But, Aggie, out of all of what we read today, what is your top of mind?
Well, I do feel like there is a, I don't know how many volumes in a row we kind of have had what I would figure to be a very definitive answer that most people would think of, and I think this volume...
And then I always have something else in mind that goes against it.
But in this instance, I actually felt something that was also very impactful and was not what I think what most people would think. And I felt like Luffy meeting Whitebeard for the first time after falling out of the sky and, immediately giving the correspondence to the hastened execution of Ace, and immediately trying to kind of find equal footing with him of what we're going to do, and everybody's reaction to that, like, how could this puny twerp, this puny straw hat twerp, he thinks that Whitebeard is his equal, and Mihawk says something to the effect of, he's got a quality that makes people want to help him, and that's more important out here on these seas than anything. I feel like all of that together was very impactful for me. I felt a real camaraderie to that sort of feeling, and I feel like it was so pronounced for me that it kind of felt like that was going to be my top of mind. Like, Luffy, we've seen him do a lot of things. He's really a fantastic guy, and in the last bit here with Impel Down and everything that's led up to this point is certainly no exception. But I just felt a real kinship. I was feeling his vibe. You feel me, my Zoomer?
You overstood his mental.
That's right, exactly. Because, listen, I'm going to tell you why I felt this. So Whitebeard, obviously, his reputation precedes. He's here. The siege of Marineford, the execution of Port Gazdi Ace, all these New World pirates, this incredible, epic battle that is just bubbling and is finally boiling over. And we have Luffy here, the young upstart, I believe, he's referenced as in this volume, just pulling up, and he's ready. He's just locked in. He's clicked in. The puzzle pieces are fitting for him to play his part in this whole situation immediately as Crocodile's ready to kill Whitebeard. Buggy, he's kind of getting coaxed into it. He'd rather not. He's kind of, it's a little much for him, but he's kind of getting goaded along, and he's helping maybe reach some of his potential. But Luffy, he's got something here that I feel like, you might have heard the phrase that you should dress for the role that you want and not the one that you're in, or something along those lines, right? And I feel like Luffy here in this volume and in this situation when he appears and everything, as I just previously mentioned, he's really embodying that in a way that really speaks to me, because throughout my life, I was something of a punk myself. I'm out here walking around, goofing around, stealing candy bars from the store, slicking my hair back with grease and wearing leather jackets, having fisticuffs in public parks and all these different things, when I was a young boy. But I always felt like there was more potential, that there was greater in this world. And I said, you know what, I feel like one day I want to be more than just a common thug wandering the streets, when I could be maybe doing something great like podcasting to hundreds of the best people on the entire face of the planet, from coast to coast, nation to nation, in a way that nobody could ever anticipate in decades prior. And so I just embodied a momentum. I felt like I kind of, there was an image, there was a type of person that I felt like I had the bearings and I had the fixings, I had everything, all the components to be. And I started walking like that guy. I started talking like that guy. I was a mumbling, fumbling, grumbling, bumbling fool. I was out here just being a goofball, out here just being nobody. And I said, you know what, I want to be slightly more than nobody. So I'm going to start walking the walk. I'm going to start talking the talk. And when Luffy drops down next to Whitebeard and everybody's like, who's that guy? You know, I felt like I was Luffy in that moment. And so the resonance to my personal self was what really gave it that extra push for me to say, you know what, I do feel like that's my top of mind. Because any of you out there, I say it and I'm going to keep saying it, you can't always be everything in this world, but if you can imagine the diagram, the blueprint of what you want to be, and you could fake it till you make it, you know what I'm saying? All you got to do is start walking the walk, talking the talk, and at the very least, somebody who is in that position, they might see you out there just trying to hit these notes, trying to fit this image, and that you're really giving it your authentic, true self. This ain't for play. This ain't a disguise. This ain't a one and done. This is who you know you are on the inside. This is what you know you can bring to the table. And you know what? You're going to sit there. You're going to keep jumping up to the table. You're a short man in Alice in Wonderland. After she drinks the short potion, you're jumping up, trying to reach on that table ledge. And the people that are up there, they could feel where you're coming from. They could see your growth. And you can one day have the Alice in Wonderland potion wear off and sit at that table yourself. I'm feeling it. Okay, that's why.
So Mihawk's acknowledgement of Luffy's true greatest strength, the ability to make people want to be on his side. And really that is the story of Luffy from the very beginning. I feel like most of the crew either hated him when they met Luffy or just staunchly did not want anything to do with being a pirate, let alone joining his crew. And he wears people down just by being his genuine, authentic self. And he really he shines so brightly that he can clear the storms of other people's hearts and make them better people just by being near them. And then they want to, orbit around the sun, in a way, you could say. And then at Sabaody, there's a big reset. Luffy's on a solo mission all over again. At 30 chapters later, he pulls up with 200 people. We witness it firsthand how this happens. And it's not like out of nowhere writing. It's so believable that as an audience, we are also in love with Luffy. We are the Boa Hancock and the character who I can't name from the future. We, as an audience member, we are won over by Luffy's personality, just like all the characters are. And that's why I think he's the most iconic, other than Goku, the most iconic and beloved anime protagonist maybe of all time.
And it is very agreeable. I think I probably would agree with it at all times. And but it is just something about it. Is it maybe something where to stand next to Whitebeard and acknowledge not even that he's being observed by the peanut gallery here, by the warlords, by the other pirates, by the Navy, etc., and getting that visual confirmation from their witness, but that Whitebeard is just he sees Buggy a little bit later on and is like, okay, this guy, Buggy's trying to be, he's coming at it in the wrong way. And I don't have anything against Buggy here, but we see the contrast where Buggy is sweating bullets, oh, well, yeah, of course I'm going to go get Whitebeard. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'm, hey, Buggy, I remember you. Oh, there's and then, he's kind of trying to, he's not being himself in the best way. He's not really being confident. He doesn't have that momentum. He's kind of faltering and wavering, but he's trying to kind of put on a strong face, whereas Luffy's coming in and he knows what he wants to be. He knows who he wants to be, and Whitebeard can kind of he's not demeaning him at all. He's like, oh, hey, you're getting me with this information. That's good to know. All right, we're on the same team in this particular aspect. That's cool. And it's that, far be it for me to be a man who promotes confidence. Maybe I haven't always done that in my life, but I think we do get that good contrast here that kind of embodies the two different ways of being about something, the, puffed up sort of hot air type of, but you're not solid. You're trying to puff yourself up, but a little pinprick and get you blown out versus just coming in. Maybe you're not trying to puff yourself up as all that, but you just already know what time it is. You know what your mission is, and you're sticking to it. And you're able to put yourself on that level with somebody like Whitebeard, who has this incredible reputation because you're not even thinking about that. You're not getting sized up or getting all up in your head about that sort of thing. You're focused. You're locked in. You know what you're going to do. And if he's on the same team as you, you could be a millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire, greatest pirate in the world. Or you could be a deck swab or whatever it is. We're locking in mission time together.
Now, to be fair, I think Luffy might have a buy-in when it comes to being liked and respected by Whitebeard. We have to imagine Ace has told Whitebeard about his brother Luffy many, many times. They're both here on the same mission with the same goal to save Ace. So, of course, I'm going to be an ally with this kid. And when Luffy says to him straight up, I know you want to be Pirate King, but that's not going to happen. I'm going to be Pirate King. A lot of people freak out, but should they be? Sengoku revealed earlier, Whitebeard has no intention of being Pirate King. He's grooming Ace to be Pirate King. Now, Luffy doesn't know that, so what he's saying to Whitebeard is, pretty macho and badass. But Whitebeard, on a personal level, doesn't give a fuck about that. He probably just thinks, the bravado on this kid, I like his balls. But I think he's gonna like Luffy regardless, just based on being Ace's brother.
Yeah, I mean, that is a fair point, and also they wouldn't particularly have a conflict of interest, as you mentioned. But, it's still, that'd be like, I kind of feel like there's both still very powerful pirates, or at least Luffy wants to be the Pirate King. Whitebeard is very powerful and commands a lot of powerful pirates as well. So I kind of feel like, it is, as I kind of previously mentioned, even if there's not those immediate conflicts, yeah, it is still ballsy. It's still some heavy stuff to be talking, in your first encounter. But I like that, and I like that it, it feels right. So, but I do know, I feel where you're coming from, though, at the same time.
I'm ready for my top of mind, and unfortunately, I need to print a retraction from last week. I may have celebrated the death of our rival One Piece Virgin podcast a little too soon. They hadn't posted in probably 2.5 months. Last week's episode, we celebrated their demise. But right after we record that episode, of course, they published their Thriller Bark Part 2 review. And then shockingly, they even did their Sabaody episode like 4 days later. Because the virgin chick was so excited that she just watched it and they did another episode. So we're still ahead by a few arcs, but maybe they'll catch up at this rate. Eggy did listen to their Thriller Bark Part 2 review in the car with me as we were driving to the various Buddhist temples around my house. And if you know why, shout out to you. Eggy, do you have a review of our rival podcast?
Well, the anime dude, whatever his first name is, but that's like, or he's like that anime dude or something. I did appreciate, as I mentioned to you in our listening, I was like, hey, if you could be 8 years old, you're signing up to like Gaia Online or whatever you kids, you're probably on Discord now, whatever it is these days, and you're like, oh yeah, my name is Toby the anime dude because I love watching anime, and you continue to like keep that branding for your entire life, like into your 20s. I gotta respect that, kind of to a degree. But with this guy, do I recall this correctly here? He like hadn't gone back over the material. He was like, I think neither of the guys ever do. The main host is Briggs, who has been hosting it since I was a guest on the show. All the other co-hosts who were usually on it have abandoned the project. That anime dude was like an occasional guest, but now he's there every episode now. And then the main focus is this virgin chick.
But yeah, the guys are basically going off of their memory, as far as I can tell. And oftentimes, yeah, they're asking questions to the Virgin about what happened because they just don't remember.
Yeah, and that doesn't particularly rub me the right way. Like, it'd be one thing if, this guy wasn't, the main host of the program. If the woman was just kind of recounting and he kind of was like tuning in as like a, just to maybe learn something from her. But as the main operator of your broadcast, if you can't take 30 minutes to at least just quick page over the material just as a quick refresher, you could go to like One Piece wiki or something and just like get a summary, literally like anything to prepare. Just
you could be a fan of One Piece and enjoy rereading the arcs along with, you're doing a podcast for tens of thousands of people. Why not put in a little effort and enjoy the thing that you evidently like anyway? Maybe prove you're not just doing this to make money, cashing in on somebody's virgin experience of it. Maybe actually engage with the material.
Now, and I do not know exactly the size of the audience that this Briggs commands, as I'm just listening to this without a lot of context here. But does he, would you say, perhaps have very strong responsibilities on a regular basis that would prevent him from having an additional hour every 2 months to read through the volume again, perchance?
Highly doubtful. I don't follow any of their personal channels, but there's no way.
Well, just like the zombies on Thriller Bark, they got brought back to life again by mysterious forces.
Hey, you know what? At least when we spoil future events, I say stuff like Shamrock and Gunko land on a giant branch, okay? Stuff that is so nonsensical, it means nothing until you actually get to it in the story. When they spoil shit, this virgin chick, she's been going to locals to play the One Piece trading card game, and it's spoiling all future events for her. She's just saying out loud on the podcast who Lola's mom is. Poor Virgin Eggy, I thought we'd be safe listening to this review of Thriller Bark. They're fucking spoiling fucking Whole Cake Island, you sick fucks. What? Why? Who's this for?
Now, and I want to, speak to our mutual audience here because I'm sure we have a lot of overlap of, virgins and virgins. They really match together. That's what science told me. Anyway, I have got a little cultural osmosis out there in the world. It is what it is. I feel like I might have reached the peak because I feel like everybody that I had seen before, like I didn't even know Frankie was a person, so, it couldn't have been too much. And there's been a little bit of maybe quickly paging over some fighting game character lists. But yeah, I was just watching a video by Ludwig, who's like some big streamer guy, whatever. He made a fresh Twitch channel, didn't promote it to see how easy it was to grow his channel. And he ended up getting his first viewers by doing an unboxing of One Piece trading card game cards. And when it got to that point in his YouTube video, I skipped to I just kept hitting the arrow until it was over, just so I didn't get spoiled. He was talking about a Luffy card, but I know who Luffy is, so NBD. But I'm telling you, I was actually one thing I was kind of concerned about when I broke my live streaming hiatus recently, and I went live for the first time in several months. I was like, there's probably some trollerinos out there that know that they want to try and, Snape and Dumbledore me or whatever. Oops, spoiler alert, I just did it to the channel, but...
Well, the good news about One Piece is, and I truly believe this, Eggy, all the actual spoilers that matter have not been revealed yet. There's basically nothing that, like, if you got it spoiled for you, it would ruin anything up to this point. And that's why I wanted to do this podcast and get as many people caught up as possible so that we can read the new chapters as they come out, and there's no chance of the story being ruined. We will find out what the One Piece is along with everybody else. And all the stuff before it, stuff happens, but it's not going to ruin your enjoyment if you know it beforehand, I don't think. It's not like when the shit's gonna happen.
And I do have this magical superpower. If I ever felt like, somebody just told me something and it's gonna be hard to get out of my brain, well, there's a special man. He's another Jimmy, just like you. His name is Jimmy Beam. And when I visit him in a nice glass container with some ice, I forget what happened for the last 3 days. So, it really helps keep all the spoilers away and my mind very fresh.
Now, if I recall, you got that bottle of Jim Beam for $9 on sale at Hy-Vee, and I thought you were going to finish it off during your King Cobra funeral stream, but that looked, only half empty? Eggy, what happened?
No, it's not that much.
Okay, it's pretty empty.
So,
I'm surprised there's any left at all.
That was about 4 hours of stream worth there, so...
I guess that's quite a bit. We have 3 new members of the Measly crew, and actually a co-host of this very show, Heartsy Protsy. And if you want to hear us review new chapters that are coming out weekly, me and Heartsy do a live stream show called the One Piece Chads. But Heartsy has joined the membership for $3 a month on the YouTube channel, Mumkey D. Jones. What should Heartsy do on the crew?
Well, I guess vice admirals are more of a Navy thing. I just feel like, I guess a commander perhaps, and that's because the ace is like a division commander, right? But I don't know if we probably have enough people to start having a division.
Sure, yeah. I guess.
All right.
I mean, you really want to put Heartsy in charge of people as his position? Because then he's basically like third ranking on the crew at that point. We're the only leaders so far.
Well, I feel like, he's gotten up a little further up the totem pole, but also at the same time, Mr. Heartsy, he's very into his games like Binding of Isaac that he plays while he's sailing the Edmund Triangle. So I think maybe he's got some master tactician capabilities. Maybe he could just be like our top strategist, perhaps. He's got to be. He's beat the game with like every achievement. He's doing better than I could strategy wise. So I got the charisma and I got the maybe a little bit of knuckleheadedness, a little hard-headedness. I got some of those leadership qualities, but I might need a little more brains to the operation. I'm thinking maybe master strategist.
As long as we put an asterisk and say, monthly, if not weekly performance review, I guess, we'll give it a trial run and see how it goes. We might all be dead this time next week. The next one, it's just Japanese characters. I mean, I have no clue how to read this, Eggy, and it's going to probably be backwards for you. But there's no way to read any of it.
All right.
There's a picture of a polar bear, actually.
So he's a samurai from an Arctic. He's the Arctic samurai.
Okay, polar bear samurai man. And finally, there's Dankledore.
Dankledore. Well, there's a certain type of dank I'm looking for. I don't know. I know we've got some botany department going on already.
His job is to get killed by Snape in the 6th book. You already said that earlier, so might as well spoil it again.
True. I guess we could probably use somebody with some magical stuff going on. How about magic that's of a literary sense? So, like an inscriptionist.
He plays Magic the Gathering and keeps crew morale up by playing tournaments every weekend.
So I'm feeling inscriptionist. You're talking about trading cards. Hey, we need more entertainment. I mean, it's a lot of sailing going on out here. We can't just skip ahead and have 2 weeks of time pass and 10 volumes like Oda can. We're doing it real deal style. So a man who's making a custom card game for our crew to entertain themselves. We need it. I'm feeling it. Sounds good.
Yeah, since we don't want Aggie to get spoiled by playing the One Piece card game, can somebody just turn us and all of our crew members into those cards? And then, with the same rules as that game, and we'll just play it with our custom deck? Why not? Otherwise, I'm never going to play that shit.
Booster pack drops every week. Maybe a crew member could get added in as a special character, but we'll see.
Eggy, walk us through some of these cover stories here.
Well, I know that excuse me, usually I have this written down, but my good friend Chopper, I didn't know that there would be such strange looking people. There's an islander depicted as chasing him, and it appears to be a literal egg egg creature with giant lips and one leg. it's pretty savage out there, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I mean, he's out. It's just but he is able to narrowly escape by having what appears to be visually a combination of Big Bird from Sesame Street and Moltres from Pokemon takes the brunt of the attack. But I mean, it's
who would you say has the more tragic fate so far? Chopper being hunted down by savages, or Sanji going trans?
Well, I just don't think that Sanji's heart is really in it. Obviously, I'm very hashtag progressive about all of the people who are really loving to love themselves and just be themselves. So I think Sanji, it's I mean, at least Chopper got away, Sanji,
for now. And Nami seems to be having no friction at all, just hanging out with some wizards on a Sky Island. Okay.
But I think perhaps the most tragic sufferer here might be in Brooks's story of like a woman just kidnapped by.
It looks like the drawing from the Dr. Seuss book that was captioned "Chinese man who eats with stick." There's a guy who looks like that, but he's like a long-armed tribesman. And I guess this woman gave Brooks shelter and even might have showed him her panties, it's suggested. So his dream woman he's been waiting for gets kidnapped immediately. And I thought we'd have a second panel of Brooke chasing them down to save her. But instead he seems to be writing a song of sorrow that he lost his love.
That'd be my best guess. I don't imagine that he because now he's got the cultist men like showing him their dick print through their heart boxers. I can't imagine that he was asking for that. They're all flashing him, and it's like
they know that he wants panties, but they don't understand. Maybe only from women.
So he's got a lot of grief to write about here on both counts. That this beautiful woman was immediately kidnapped by men that can only have bad intentions, I'm sure. Now he's being flashed by a bunch of men while he's writing his sorrow, so it's only just compounding.
I'm not down with this. I feel like Brooke is a hero. He would have chased down and saved this woman. He's chivalrous, and this woman, I mean, he owes her big time. Why would he do nothing and then just start writing a song? I hope we get resolution to this, but a lot of these Straw Hats are not sitting right with me based on these two panels we get.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of
finally, we have Zoro, who I guess nothing good or bad really here. Just some sort of giant silhouette is approaching him for a duel of some kind. And again, I'm jealous. He gets to hang out with Perona in a spooky castle, which is kind of my dream come true. So good on Zoro.
Yeah, it might be one of the better results so far because he appears to be at least significantly healed up. He's got Perona to back him up. And at first, when I looked at the cover story, when I hadn't mentally digested the large fixtures in the background, so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that it's like there's a Pokemon called like Maudile or something. I forget exactly, but he's got like this huge like gaping like mouth and like this freakish curved head. So like as I'm looking at the silhouette, I'm thinking that this growth coming out of the ground that's curved up is like actually like over a bunch of trees. It was a little optical illusion. I'm looking like, oh, what kind of freaky monster is this? Then I figured out that was not the case after I kind of paged back over it. But yeah, we need a lot of resolution for these cover stories, and I don't know if we're gonna get it anytime soon. We're still completely locked into the beginning of Paramount War or Summit War. I think I'm going to go with Paramount War. I feel like that's what I've heard it referred to more so than Summit. Maybe that might be a dub type of deal, but
do you think that the Straw Hats are going to pull up to this Summit War?
I just don't know right now how exactly that could come together. I mean,
well, these cover stories might have taken place, a week ago, right? This is when Luffy's back on Amazon Lily having his adventure.
And I guess what we could say is they all should know where Marineford is. They all had been at Ennie's lobby. They'd all been on the Edmund Triangle. They're aware of the location. The execution has been heavily disseminated through newsprint. They've got these huge monitors where all the Marineford families are watching everything live.
Yeah, even if they all went back to Sabaody to meet up, it's playing on the monitors there.
Right. So I actually come to think, so I think that would be a good meeting point. They've been there. They should have some recollection of how to get back to there, perhaps. And if they were able to get to Sabaody again, then I feel like Rayleigh's still there. And I think that if there was going to be one figure from Sabaody who is kind of being spurred to action, who has the know-how to get everybody back over and link back up in the region of Marineford, I feel like Rayleigh would be the guy to tap for that. So it certainly is possible, but I think it's going to need a unifying figure like Rayleigh or something. I don't suspect, it wouldn't be my first guess anyway, that they would have just a coincidental smattering of circumstance that they'd all be able to kind of get back to this area of their own accord. Sabaody, yes, because it doesn't have the Edmund Triangle to make everything all kooky, but that would be just kind of where my mind is at with the possibility. But
it might be rough since they made such a big deal that even from Amazon Lily, a full week's travel is barely enough time to make it to these places. So, maybe some of them are too far away, but hey, Oda will let us know in the future, hopefully. Let's, instead of predicting things that might happen, let's talk about what did happen and make new predictions from those. Starting with, at the very beginning, Luffy casually drops that he knows Gold Roger is Ace's father, and I guess he's always known this, keeping it a secret even from the audience.
Yeah, it was, it didn't upset me, but I felt like, yeah, this could have come up before. It might have been a little strategic. Maybe Heartsy, was deploying this one with his tactician skills.
And I don't want to speak out of turn or, whatever, but I do vaguely recall reading that this plot twist of Ace's parenthood might have actually been thought of more recently than from character inception. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I might have read that somewhere authentic. Maybe it's even in the SBS at some point. I don't know. Not that it matters. It's Kino anyway.
Yeah, I guess maybe there's a little pinging of an SBS now that you mentioned it. There might have been something back there back in the day that might have alluded to something. But in any case, yeah, I was very Ivankov in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Poor Ivankov, thought nobody could ever forget that face. Was that a relatable moment for you, Aggie? Like, would you be offended if somebody didn't recognize you who'd met you before? Like, come on, man. I'm kind of known for how I look.
I've been shocked that people have been able to recognize me consistently for so long. Like, I don't know.
Have you changed up your look that much?
Well, I feel like I've certainly aged, deteriorated a little bit. Maybe look a little different than but maybe not, because this is kind of not super relevant. But the first time I ever did get noticed was by my voice. So maybe the voice carries more than the appearance, even at points. I was at a restaurant in Toronto getting gelato, and I was like, I think I'll do a pistachio, and some guy was just like, I recognize that voice. So.
He's a big fan of the Feels Good Man movie.
Well, this was 10 years ago, I think, so it was just probably off just a YouTube video. So, real OG, whoever that guy was.
Aggie, this war is really just a lot of skirmishes and clashes with all these big characters we've known and loved for hundreds of chapters. Buggy versus Mihawk, instantly iconic for me. But where do you want to go with this? We don't have to necessarily be completely linear here.
Well, I will just say one thing. So, as I mentioned with my top of mind, Whitebeard, we haven't necessarily had a ton of Whitebeard lore, I would say, up to this point, but, going off of what Jinbei was saying with his protection of Fishman Island, we know that he's had these associations with, his interactions at least with Shanks and Ace, and there's been this relationship that's there, but we get the reveal of what does Whitebeard got that everybody else don't got. Well, we come into this volume with him. It looks like he appears to be breaking through my screen. There's a lot of cracking going on. He's just like punching the air, and there's a bunch of cracks forming. And I thought this was gonna be like something he could rip through time and space. I was like, what the hell is going on? This guy is crazy. I mean, he's already like, I don't know if we have any information on this yet. I feel like seems to have some giant DNA in him, because how is he so tall and everybody else is so small? I mean, he's not truly giant size, but he's an awfully large man. So, I was really open to any possibilities with what he could bring to the table. But he's got the Quake fruit, where he could just basically generate seismic activity by punching the air. And it's completely insane. I believe it's Sengoku says that he has the power to destroy the world, and that's what makes him such an absolute threat. When we have people like Kaku who can turn into a giraffe, like, oh, that's cool. Oh, you're Khalifa, you can do like soap bubbles. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, Whitebeard, you can just punch the air and like just literally destroy the plates of the earth. Well, shit.
that cracking the air effect that makes it look like your computer monitor has a big crack in it. It reminds me of this panel from early Dragon Ball where I can't remember who he's hitting, but he hits somebody into like the ceiling of the panel, and like the actual physical panel is like broken. Like Goku bounced the guy off the panel that they're drawn in. So I like that effect of like, it looks like the manga itself is being destroyed. That's how powerful this man is.
Yeah, it's
Are you excited to play as Whitebeard in One Piece Burning Blood now that you know what his powers are?
Yes, and also sorry, I'm blanking on the name here. Let me see if I
give me a hint. There's so many fucking names. Yeah, sorry. Marco the Phoenix.
Yes. Just because, so he's got a mythical creature zone type, so there's even levels to, as I was just kind of sneak dissing Kaku a little bit here, there's different levels to the zone type devil fruits. That was, Whitebeard, obviously that's incredible power, but I think if there was one person who I'm pretty sure he is in Burning Blood, Marco that is, to see him turn into a phoenix, I was like, I think he was probably my first, perhaps, out of this volume that I was like, ooh, it might not be practical, but I bet it looks cool as shit. So yeah, I want to be a burning bird man.
Yeah, the blue flames of healing, and after seeing Kizaru destroy all the supernova without even trying, now we have Marco the Phoenix going toe-to-toe with him. And Kizaru is always dropping these lines where I don't know if he's being sarcastic or not, where he's like, oh, Whitebeard pirates are scary, like saying stuff like that. But they're not actually harming him. It's like him and Marco can't hurt the other. He's just casually flying through all his light blasts, whatever the fuck, plasma attacks, whatever those are.
He kind of gives me like Kizaru kind of reminds me of like Xavier Renegade Angel a little bit, where he's just says something that's like like it could be anything. You're just like, what? Wait.
You think he might be like high the whole time? Like
he's always got that face who's like,
yeah.
Huh? And then he just like immediately like blows up a building or just like does some crazy attack. He's gives me maybe a little bit of like a drunken master kind of style, where it's just very hard to choreograph where he's coming from. Like, he's got this incredible power, but he just seems like really aloof and just kind of like nonsensical, and just be like, oh, that was weird, and then just something like does some crazy, incredibly powerful maneuver that can kill everybody.
It's like the horror of Bugs Bunny to his enemies. Like, he seems so casual and goofy, but he could do incredible things that will fuck you up, and that's more terrifying than if he was serious, if anything. I was going to say, Marco the Phoenix, There's no reason to believe this. This is just the theories out of my ass, so I'm not spoiling any future events or anything, but a phoenix, what is that? It's a bird that grows old, then it burns up to ashes, and then it's like reborn out of the ashes. Is the idea that it's reborn as a new creature, or is the phoenix like this eternal soul that gets renewed over and over again? Because I would like to think maybe this is a super special, awesome zone fruit. And perhaps Marco the Phoenix has lived and died many times, perhaps since the Void Century. Could it be? A character who's, lived his full life and then burns up from his fruit and then is reborn as a baby, ends up on Whitebeard's crew? I would like something like that. It's probably not true. There's no reason to think it is, but a phoenix is an interesting mythological creature to play with in your story.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I believe your understanding of the phoenix is completely accurate, and perhaps also it could be maybe if not the possessor of that fruit having that rebirth potential, maybe it could be like if they should pass away, maybe like the fruit, like just, I don't know, like I don't want to say, I guess the first thing you think of is that they're gonna like have it come out of their mouth or shit it out or something, but like so it's not beautiful to think about, but maybe there's something along the lines of that.
There's precedent for it. Brooks fruit, hey, he died and came back alive. And of all mythical creatures, wouldn't the phoenix be the one to have that same power built in?
Absolutely. I cannot think off the top of my head of a better type of creature or anything like that to possess that ability. I think it's very on brand, very on point. So I think I would agree with that. I don't know how it could have impacted his time throughout, if it has like a memory wipe or something like that too. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting theory.
It would make him a useful character for relaying any historical lore that needs to be told if he lived through it all. But again, no Marco the Phoenix spoilers.
Well, then speaking of some of these new powers that we're being introduced to here, we finally get the I feel like the first introduction to the powers of Admiral Akainu, which was interesting to me because I know Ace, I don't know what exactly devil fruit Akainu has, but we know Ace is basically the fireman. That's how I've seen him, if he's got the fire fruit or what exactly his fruit is. But Akainu has also been mentioned to have, I believe at this point previously, a fire-related power as well. So he launches this gigantic Inferno fist that's as big as, it looks like it could pretty much block out the entire sky of the Marineford Bay here.
It goes up against an entire iceberg, right? And icebergs are fucking huge.
Vaporizes it and has flames falling out of the sky. So it makes me wonder, because this is something that I'm always leaning back on my gamer knowledge, folks. There is such a thing as an elemental fire power, and then there's something that's more of a physically impactful fire power, where you could you're casting a fire spell versus a fire enchantment. So I wonder perhaps if that's a distinction here, that there's a physically applied fire force versus maybe Ace might be a little more elemental, but
Whitebeard does give a good hint. If you'd like me to spoil it, perhaps by saying it.
Well, I think he says something like you should stick to lighting birthday candles, Magma Boy.
Magma Boy.
Okay, well, actually, there you go, because Magma is hot lava rock or whatever.
Yeah, it's basically the hottest shit on the earth, right?
I think so. That's what the Earth's core is supposed to be having up in there, right? Yeah.
It's is it even a solid or a liquid? It's like fucking melted rock. It's like a whole different thing. It's insane. You could hold it in your hand and then it would melt through it. It's crazy. But
so I guess
pretty good power for an admiral to have, probably.
I would say, but you could in theory, you could cross the sea just on some parting the Red Sea type biz. Moses, he was pulling it apart. You could just drop a magma trail. It's gonna hit the water, start cooling off maybe, but maybe it's not super practical. But in any case, I guess it could be a little more elemental then also. to be magma. I would probably put those both fire, flame, and magma under an elemental attack. But you know what? Somebody who doesn't need all of those goofy, silly powers. We have somebody who I was very interested, excited, both kind of at the same time, perplexed, intrigued. Somebody who's related to a character that we learned about not so long ago, maybe about like 9 volumes or 8 volumes at this point. You know, which is crazy to think that we've come so far, and it feels like it was just yesterday that we got introduced to Oars, the Continent Puller, on Thriller Bark, and thinking that, you know, who could possibly handle that BOC, if you know what I'm saying. You know, I ain't talking about Blue Oyster Cult, but there is an Oars Jr. under the command of the Whitebeard Pirates. And of course, I had to stand up and applaud because Oars, a man who pulls continents, if he's able to pull off being a father at the same time, I mean, that's the 2 hardest jobs in the world, folks. It was beautiful to see, but...
Where did Oars Jr. come from? Because all the ships popped up from under the ocean. And then, like, just Oars Jr. is here.
Yeah, you know, I don't...
He just kind of shows up in one panel. It is what it is, Oda. He somehow showed up.
Because they could see the silhouettes. The admirals could see the silhouettes of like the Moby Dick and stuff as they were like surfacing. So it's not like he was just holding his breath down there. I feel like they would have had to have seen him. But
I'm sure the anime explains it. It was probably like a bubble coating on a ship that he could fit under. I don't know what ship he's fucking fitting on. Did he swim here? But Doflamingo, a warlord we know very little about other than he ran an auction house that he no longer cares about, and I guess he has some sort of puppet powers that he used on what's his name back on Jaya. He cuts fucking Oars Jr.'s leg off. How did he do that, Iggy? While he's just like casually like laying in the air like it's a mattress.
I mean, my understanding, which I don't think I even still do have an understanding of Doflamingo's devil fruit power. I think that's the only instance that I had seen of it before was where he was able to seemingly persuade in a way that was kind of like a mind control, basically. Like, maybe not even mind control, but just like a physical, like just a...
We see it here again. He takes control of a Whitebeard pirate and starts attacking his fellow men. And, like, they don't know what to do. Like, they don't want to hurt their own dude.
Yes, I feel like it's got to be something to do with puppeteering. I don't know if we've quite seen anybody with an ability like that before. But maybe the puppeteering, maybe if there's something there with being able to control someone against their will, then maybe you could also, like, use your puppeteering on your own self to like manipulate your physical whatever. I mean, you could do like some invisible puppet strings kind of stuff where you're like moving your body around and holding yourself up in a certain kind of way,
hanging them off the clouds. Why not? Clouds can hold islands on them. Why can't my puppet strings hold me up?
That's fair. Yeah, I'm thinking that'd be my best guess at this point. Because,
and to be fair, we know that airwalk is a thing, so maybe he's just fucking using the 6 powers to fly. Why not?
That is true. And I think, did we have an instance of him interacting with anybody from Cypher Pole? I feel like there might have been maybe at one of those meetings, but so yeah, when we know that they have that as one of their skills that's required of them to master.
While we're talking about Doflamingo, he has so many great speeches and dialogues here. Should we go through some of these here? Basically, one of the most important themes and questions of the entire story, in my opinion, is the speech, are the pirates the good guys? Is the Navy the good guys? Are the pirates the bad guys? Is the Navy the good guys? Things like that change with the seasons. Kids who've never known peace and kids who've never known war have completely different ideas of right and wrong. It's the job of those at the top to decide what's good and what's evil. Right now, it could go either way. Justice will prevail? Of course it will, because the side of justice will be whichever side wins! Is that not the most red-pilled fucking fact of life in history? All the history books are fucking lies, people. Every time we win a war, we got to paint the other side as evil as possible. We were in the right to do the My Lai massacre and rape all those Viet Cong children. It was fine. We were the good guys who won, even though I think we lost that one. But we wrote the history books about it anyway.
Well, it kind of reminds me of there's maybe a bit of a controversial anthropologist, depending on who you ask, Robert Sepper. I was listening to some of his. I think he just came back to YouTube after a while. I don't know if he got suspended or something for a little bit, but he was talking about how he had a video about Buddha and how like some of these original writings were like, oh yes, Buddha in his many great forms, with his red hair and piercing blue eyes, and this is kind of something that still was like very tangentially, I don't know if that's the right word, little bits and pieces of it were still out there in some of the books, but like largely this idea that Buddha had light hair and piercing blue eyes or whatever was kind of a little bit to the wayside, except for some like very old cultural traditions that were still kind of having these depictions. And it makes you wonder, perhaps maybe Genghis Khan was pulling up and doing his thing and being like, oh, actually Buddha, maybe he's more like me. That used to look like the pharaoh from the, that we were talking about with the pharaoh that looks like a middle management pencil pusher with a pharaoh crown on his head. Maybe Buddha was looking like, the average video game speedrunner once upon a time, and all of a sudden, oh wait, no, he's Genghis Khan now. Things could definitely change, and throughout pretty much all of human history, whoever was showing up like, yeah, this is me now, and they would just kill and burn and pillage everything to the ground and then rebuild it in their image. So Doflamingo's talking that talk. I've definitely heard the sentiment shared among many a group chat in my day.
I always thought of Buddha as a bit of propaganda for the idea of the philosophy to be anti-material possessions and earthly desires. For their mascot to be a super fat guy, it gives the impression of like, oh, you don't need that food. You'll be a better person if you give that food to me, actually. Like, and this fat guy's eating everybody's food, saying you'll be more spiritual if you starve and meditate. Why is Buddha fat? Maybe he was a white guy, like you're saying. And Genghis Khan is like, oh, this Buddha shit, I don't know. We need to trick the people into thinking it's a big fat Asian guy.
Yeah, he's like, oh man, I've been kind of hungry and I need some extra fuel for my army. Hey, yeah, you know what? Here, let's use the statue. Just give everything, and just all you people. Our blades are a little dull today. Can't just cut all your heads off. Anyway, just what you need to do is give us all your food, and maybe your women too. Like, oh, that's lustful. If you have these women, they're gonna tempt you with lust. So why don't we just take those and just we're gonna try something different today. I don't know. I'm not a Buddhist scholar by any means, but this one YouTube video of an official sounding man who says things that I can agree with personally without being offended. He was really talking that talk that spoke to me and changed my entire perspective on life after one YouTube video, which is typical for me. So that's good.
Yeah, it is hard to read a speech like this and come to terms with he's probably criticizing like the United States directly. A lot of people have a perspective that perhaps this land was discovered in 1492-ish, and maybe if the Native Americans won a few more wars, the history books would have a different lesson about the history of this land than what the vast majority of Americans are taught and believe. Not trying to be like some woke guy about it, but I'm just trying to be realistic here.
And I could say, with a legally, like 12% indigenous DNA, that makes me the, complete legally bound scholar on everything to do with that. I would say it is more likely than not that there were probably particular tribes of indigenous persons on the American continent that literally just exterminated each other. Like we have, we know what we know of what was written down. They're like, okay, well, this was their land. And there was probably like twice as many tribes, like 100 years before that. And they just completely exterminated each other. And like, we're finding these mass graves like, oh, this is their burial grounds. That's just like, they just dumped a bunch of people they just killed. Like,
so maybe the Chickwick people, if the Apaches didn't wipe them out, they would have had a different history book than, It goes back forever and ever, and evidently maybe the lore and history of the One Piece world will do the same. I think Blaze wants out, so I'll let you take the podcast for one moment, Aggie.
So, and to touch a little bit more on what I was just saying, I was also reading into some Chinese history, and basically as far back as recorded Chinese history goes, back to the Yellow Emperor of, what, like 5,000 BC? Well, I guess 5,000 BC was still like Mesopotamia, but in the earliest recorded Chinese history that exists, they already had a full-fledged written language, like as far back as it goes. So it would be very likely that there was something that did exist prior, and whatever existed in our earliest recorded history pulled up to that and said, no, I just invented a new kind of spear, time to kill everybody and take over, and now I'm everybody. I'm the new founder, and this is my country now, and so it goes.
Wouldn't it be funny if, like, North Korea or Russia were actually paradise on Earth and everything we knew was propaganda from the government? And there's no way of knowing because it's not like I'm ever going to go there. That's just how, like, all of history is. Like, you never know what actually happened because you weren't fucking there. You just have to believe what the people put in the books. You have no choice.
And our good friend Vexed, God rest his soul, he went and pulled up in North Korea, pulled his camera out, started recording. It looked pretty good to me, and he went viral for it. So, he was possibly one of the greatest investigative journalists of our life, just for that particular reason. He showed us what they wouldn't show us anywhere else. And
now we live in a post-evidence world where you could see the footage with your own eyes, and you can't believe it anymore. Like, fuck CGI. Even AI now is just... They're going to drop the Epstein videos of Trump right when the threshold has been passed, and you just can't believe it anymore, no matter what. They'll just say it was AI forever. We have a lot more Marineford to cover, Aggie. Any other characters and powers that you're excited about?
Well, I kind of anticipated this, and this does happen in this volume, but Boa Hancock, she's a little... treasonous, just a little bit, just a smidge, just because Luffy is her beloved and she'll do anything that's beneficial to him, no matter whoever it's against. It doesn't matter because it's only matters that it's for Luffy, and she's ready to tie the knot. Just him being grateful for her intervention.
Yeah, she's saying marriage already.
I mean, obviously she has some issues to work out, kind of fossilizing her own people at a whim and kicking baby seals and dogs and cats and any small defenseless animal in the face while bending over backwards like a freak. But, who among us is without a couple issues here or there?
Do we count this as another win for Smoker against Luffy? Because chapter 100 thereabouts, he captures him and then Dragon interferes, and now Boa has to save Luffy again. I feel like the smoke powers combined with the Sea Prism Stone cane or whatever he's using, Luffy still can't defeat those. And I see people shit on Smoker all the time, but as far as I'm concerned, he beat Luffy in 2 1v1 so far, that Luffy only survived from interference.
I would have to agree with you completely. I mean, you would feel like at this point, it's not a great time to have to, pull something new out of your hat when you've just, barely escaped Impel Down in this most incredibly high stakes, high tension, race against the clock kind of way. But we had also some engagement with Sea Prism Stones in Impel Down, so you would think if you wasn't we might not have had to think about these items for a little while. I don't know. We might have had it come up once since Logtown, but in any case, it's something that probably should be being addressed. Very fortunate. Yeah, I would feel like he would not have maybe there's so much going on around him that there still could have been possibly a moment to escape. If there hadn't been any interference, it might have still presented an opportunity at some point. But the Sea Prism Stone is a super hard counter to Luffy that he really should be taking some time to try and figure out how he can get around that. And I don't even know if there ever will be a way around it, but
this is the volume of hard counters. because, like I said, we had Buggy versus Mihawk, and very exciting to see even the greatest swordsman cannot cut Buggy. It takes the deflection of his own Muggy Ball. But another hard counter was Jinbei versus Moria, because he could just throw seawater, and it's salty, and it just obliterates all the zombies. Why the fuck wasn't Jinbei with us at Thriller Bark? Would have saved us 2 whole volumes, I think.
Yeah, but as fair as that is, and he might have had the ability with his water beam to propulse enough water from the sea, the way that Thriller Bark was kind of set up, being enclosed as it was, I feel like the opportunity would have been less so compared to the Bay of Marineford, where you have the water's just right there. They're basically standing, right at the edge of the sea, to where it's going to be a lot easier to propel a sufficient amount of that seawater towards Moria and all of his minions.
Probably
so it might
fair.
have been a little tough.
All right, what else, Aggie?
Well, it's kind of a little bit still tied to our little rant we were just going on about that fantastic speech that Doflamingo was giving. We kind of alluded to earlier when I was talking about my top of mind. There was, from the transponder snail, the Luffy and everybody from Impel Down was able to get this intel that they were going to be hastening Ace's execution due to the events that were unfolding. And with that being said, the government, or the Navy, is essentially saying something along the lines of, oh, well, all we got to do is we got to just cut these feeds that we're showing to the world about Ace's execution, cut them. Doesn't matter, because what we're going to tell them is that we won. That's all they need to know. They don't need to know all the finer points. And it kind of...
is that more red pill
with...
from Oda? Like, government trying to manipulate the media to make themselves look like the good guys. They don't want to broadcast their cruelty and all the fucked up bonus meteors that they're dropping out of the sky on these pirates, blasting them in the back with giant Kuma robots. They're like, okay, yeah, we got to cut the feed real quick. But thankfully, the true hero of One Piece, Buggy the Clown, says, I'm live streaming this shit. We're going straight to World Star. I don't care. The people need to... The revolution will be televised. He decided.
Very true. And I really appreciate the way that Oda put this together. I'm going to presume that this singular transponder is going to continue functioning into the next volume. At least I hope so. But off the fact that, once again, matching Buggy's character, this is... he's got his crew coming up behind him like, oh, aren't you the great member of the, the man who was...
the brother to Shanks and the Gold Rogers crew?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say member of the Royal Jacks. I couldn't remember the exact wording, but then he's, just basically flexing, kind of getting his notoriety up on camera, kind of bigging himself up while they're like, oh, we're dropping the pacifista army to start literally just killing everybody in a horrible massacre that we want to make sure nobody knows about, and we'll just, kind of sweep everything under the rug when it's all said and done. But prior to that, we kind of get it tied in here that Ivankov had some pre-existing connection with Warlord Kuma, which is interesting because we know Warlord Kuma to be Tyrant Kuma, right? Who's like the most horribly sadistic, cruel tyrant ever. But then Ivankov is supposed to be of the Revolutionary Army, who you would think would be like power to the people, right? I mean, but in any case, while they're having a bit of a disconnection, trying to reconnect and acknowledge each other, that's when we get the full-on, and I guess this is where it makes sense, full-on explanation that Kuma is dead. He's completely converted himself. He's gone full transhumanist and is a complete android now with no humanity remaining. He's technologically worked out all the humanity, and Ivankov can't believe it because Kuma was supposed to be very anti-government. So was the tyranny against government loyalists? Well, that sounds like hero Kuma to me. Then if you ask me where's the tyranny at, I don't see it. But with that explanation that Kuma has essentially fully lost his humanity, it kind of coincides with the deployment of this horrible pacifista army, which there's been a lot of incredible and devastating and horrible powers that have been shown here in this, even just this little taste of the Navy v. Whitebeard conflict, the Paramount War, if you will. But these pacifistas have shown some real brutality, some real tyranny in the way that would be my original understanding.
Just
of the
one
term.
of them basically defeated the whole crew. Like, what did it take? All three of our main guys' strongest attacks to even take one down, and now there's fucking a dozen of them. And Sentomaru's back, who Luffy could do nothing against. Are things looking bad for the Whitebeard pirates? Are they getting flanked? Attacked on both sides. Oars Jr. has been fucking decimated. And then, of course, the cliffhanger ends with one of Whitebeard's own men stabbing him clean through. So Whitebeard might not even get to fight anymore. Like, he might be dead already. I don't know where his heart is, but it's got to be around there. What's your take on this, Aggie? Is this war looking good for the Whitebeard and Luffy alliance?
I wish it was. I wish it was. Like, I was really excited, but in the final chapter of this volume, we have the deployment of all these pacifistas. They're like, Kuma was definitely, I think, the best design to put with this sort of unfeeling, absolute, like, destructive power, because there's just something about him. He's just large. He's kind of got a little bit of a concealing with his hat and his glasses. He's got like a very just kind of like frowning, resting facial expression. And so he's got a sort of physical imposition already. Definitely not warm and friendly whatsoever. Got the name of, Tyrant. And so his image being used for these weapons of mass destruction really adds a additional, for me, level of horror. It feels like just these big things, and they're blasting explosive power out of their hands, their mouths, maybe even their eyes, but I think it's just hands and mouths. But very, very overwhelming, it feels like. And so this is where I would think, okay, that's a lot, but I feel it in my heart that I think that the Whitebeard pirates, they're going to be able to pull through. We got Buggy out here causing a spectacle. That's going to irritate the Navy. They're going to be, maybe looking over this way. Whitebeard could pull something out. He's going to get his people with him. He's going to really launch that super strong attack. And then, yes, how do we end the volume is somebody who is apparently one of his top allies, as best I could understand it.
I think Squard might be a division commander. Probably like the 10th one, like probably pretty low, but good enough to stab through Whitebeard.
And even if it had just been ending on a panel of you being stabbed, I could say, oh, well, Whitebeard, I don't know, he's got scars and stuff already. Maybe he could, so strong, maybe he could just like push the blade back out and just, well, that kind of sucked, but now I can, crush you with one finger. His stabbing is paired with this like where everyone's like, which kind of adds a little bit of weight to it for me. Like, oh fuck, okay, this must be really bad.
In this volume, we have Luffy. He's about to attack Mihawk, but then like he sees a vision of his arm getting chopped off, and he doesn't do the attack. So maybe I think he was hinted at some sort of future sight ability, maybe back against the Boa sisters. So maybe this is another tapping into that. But is the implication here perhaps Whitebeard? He's the top of the top, best of the best. If this is an ability people can tap into, did Whitebeard see it coming and just not react in the same way when a crocodile attacked him earlier and then Luffy stopped the attack? Whitebeard didn't even have to move. Did he see this coming and allowed his own man to stab him for some reason?
Well, I could see it tying into hockey. I don't know how.
And sorry to interrupt you, but I forgot to mention, because we see in the flashback, even in his sleep, when Ace is trying to assassinate him, Whitebeard can wake up and stop the attack. So the fact that he just stands there while he gets stabbed feels okay. Go ahead.
Well, I feel like that future sight type of deal, or that extreme situational awareness at the very least, to where you could just like, because we could call it future sight, but I feel like you could just mentally put yourself like multiple steps ahead of an attack in that kind of way. And I think maybe possibly hockey, it could just be general combat experience as well. But the way that it was flashing for Luffy like that, I feel like with hockey becoming a greater, more integral part in the story as we go along, and more relevant to characters and their power levels and their bounties and so on and so forth, I feel like that would make sense for it to be tied in there, because you're having this energy, and I feel like combat awareness and perception would tie into that energy. So that's an idea. But I didn't even think about the fact that Whitebeard was shown to be so hyper aware in the flashback now, as you mentioned. So it really doesn't make any sense at all, unless one thing I guess that springs to mind is a possibility, if he was willing to get himself taken down like this, after he told Ace, do not pursue Blackbeard, don't worry about it. Ace goes on, gets captured, he's going to be executed. Whitebeard and company show up and say, oh yeah, we told him to come do this.
I love that moment so much. Just blatantly lying, like, I sent you on that mission, right, Marco? Yeah, that's what I heard. Like, exact opposite of what he said. It's like an I am Spartacus moment, really, for the whole Whitebeard crew.
Exactly. And with that energy, and with what we've been explained about, Whitebeard was trying to prepare Ace to be the Pirate King. When we were first introduced to Whitebeard, he's on, like a bunch of tubes in him with a bunch of nurses being tended to. Could this possibly be perhaps in the same way that Gold Roger allowed himself to die because he had a terminal illness and he was looking for that path to use his death as an inspiration? Could perhaps Whitebeard, after knowing that Ace should not do this and that he wouldn't even be maybe inclined to go out of his way for Ace, other than he was, he told him not to do this, he's out and he's causing his own problems, getting into his own stuff, he's going to have to figure it out. But he went and he came and he showed up, and he, perhaps, did he position himself in this way? Maybe he was sick and he was looking for that.
We've seen him with a bunch of IVs in him and a bunch of nurses, so, at the very least, he's got old man illness. And
this is one of his division leaders that is stabbing him, so it's somebody who's on his side. Is it being played out as a treasonous act to cause some sort of reaction from from Ace, from who knows? I feel like there could be something there, knowing what we've known about Gold Roger and how his death was used in that particular way. We've seen Whitebeard in this condition that looks like he's not the healthiest. Maybe there's something there. Could certainly be. I feel like there's definitely a thread there to have a theory for that in any case.
Yeah, the volume tells us straight up, Whitebeard, if he wants to dodge an oncoming attack, he's capable and able. So, yeah, I like this mystery of why would Squard do this? Why would Whitebeard allow it? And now there's so many theories we can craft. Will Whitebeard, die from this? Is it just a trick? Will it continue fighting Eggy? Is this the end of Whitebeard?
Well, I feel like it could be, just off the fact that I feel like it would be more sensible for it to be, with the theory that, he was shown in what appeared to be a sickly condition. So maybe he could use a death for a greater purpose.
He's on a suicide mission, maybe.
But yeah, at the same time, I feel like it could also be, considering everything that's going on and it being really in the thick of the combat with between the Whitebeard Pirates and the Navy right now, it would almost, the timing seems maybe a little bit off, because I feel like you still need to kind of finish up the battle a little more. I wouldn't say that it was so decided at this point that this would be like the moment to have this happen.
No, it's almost the worst possible time, because like this is right when the Pacifista army shows up and starts attacking you from the rear. So probably not a good time to have, as they say, like Marco calls him the king, like it's a chess game. Oh, it's too soon to go after our king. Well, probably not a good time for the king to get stabbed through the chest. One volume into the war.
Maybe there's a latent power that could be activated here by Ace that maybe he's going to like turn into a huge inferno and all his chains are going to melt off and he could instantly kill all the pacifistas. They definitely need something. They need a secret weapon of some kind here to go against those pacifistas because they're extremely powerful and plentiful. So
not to mention the 3 admirals. Like I don't know who's gonna, like Kizaru can barely be held off by Marco for a bit, and we still have Magma Man and Ice Man, who's freezing giant tidal waves to make fucking mountains. Is Luffy going to have to fight any of these 3 admirals in the next volume, Eggy?
I feel like, as horrifying as Kizaru is, I feel like he might be the best option if Luffy does have to fight one, because what's he going to do against Magma? That Rubber don't got no defense against that, and we know from experience that Aokiji could easily completely solidify him in an ice block and shatter him if he so chooses. So just based off of that, even though Kizaru has that incredible power, if he could find himself in a 1v1, I feel like that might just be the most advantageous position that he could have. But for his sake, I just don't know. I mean, he's not running on a full battery to begin with. He's living off the adrenaline shot. That's, he's only working with a slim margin of capability here, and so I think he's gonna need to try to not have too many 1v1s against these ultra powerful people if at all possible. He's got to be mindful of what he's got for his potential, unless maybe this could be maybe instead of Ace being activated here by this attack on Whitebeard, maybe it'll do something to Luffy. Maybe he'll unlock a new higher level of power. Unfortunately, that sort of tragedy and grief and stuff could be a very motivating factor. And if this is what it appears, which is all I could know it to be, we just have to hope that this provides some of that motivating factor to our heroes to get the job done they need to do.
I did just remember that Boa Hancock somehow has the key to Ace's handcuffs and gives it to Luffy. How the fuck did she get this? I don't know. I guess just the privilege of being a beautiful warlord. And Luffy, he could stretch, so maybe he doesn't necessarily even have to get past all these admirals. Can he not just stretch the key all the way up to Ace and unlock him, and then Ace can fucking flame on and get the hell out of there? Although, we do we get that here? I'm not spoiling the very next chapter somehow, am I? Does Ace give his little speech? I'm depressed, I don't care what happens to me, save me, don't save me, whatever my fate is, I don't care. He's being a little bitch boy.
Well, he was saying something along those lines to Luffy.
Hey, Luffy, don't save me! I don't even like you, you stupid Sasquatch! It's like Harry and the Hendersons fucking ending, but with Luffy and Ace. You stupid brother! I get that he's trying to save him, but come on, Luffy's come this far. You know damn well he's not going to stop Ace, and he says as much.
Yeah, it's like it seems, not that it would have been a good speech really under any circumstances, but I feel like the timing is exceptionally bad because like Whitebeard and everybody's already showed up. Like, I mean, they're already lying and saying, "Oh yeah, we sent you on this mission, and so we're here to duke it out." And then Luffy comes down and he's just additionally seething and moping, like, "No, I went on my own adventures. I got my own problems. It would be an insult to be rescued by a little twerp like you."
Homeboy Garp. He's very conflicted. He sits next to Ace. He says outlaws deserve no mercy, but this is family. What are your predictions for Garp? What will he do here? Is he going to betray the Marines much like Boa Hancock? Is Garp the key to all of this? Because he's a fucking powerful guy, and I don't know who else is fighting these 3 admirals.
That is true. But I think it's mentioned as much maybe by Bo Hancock herself, where she says like, oh, just because I am fighting against Whitebeard, that doesn't mean that I am for the Navy. I'm only for Luffy at the end of the day.
Yeah, she said all men are the same to me.
That's right. So I feel like
Garp's gonna allow his own adopted grandson, to be killed right in front of him. Fucking bastard.
He's tells it like, he's telling him, he's saying, hey, I gave you the game plan to be the man that I told you this is the man you need to be. If you go another way, you're going to end up in a very bad position. You're going to end up in a very, this is the
Imagine you're being executed and your grandpa comes up and says, you should have been a cop like I told you. Like, come on, Gramps.
Well, if I was John Dillinger and I'd just been shooting up banks or whatever,
Is that what Ace was doing? No.
He was in the Whitebeard Pirate. I don't know what all they were.
They were protecting Fishman Island. He has to be eliminated. They're anti-racists in the year 15 whatever. Gotta kill him. If anything, he's more like Martin Luther King Jr.'s son than a vicious pirate. Any other link-ups you want to see in the rest of the war? Any other characters you want to see fight or at least communicate?
Well, I do feel like where I'm at, I feel like it would be less likely for Garp to do like a full-on switch over to his family, just considering his position in the Navy and kind of what he's had to do to reach that level.
Hey, Monkey D. Garp. I feel like these D people are destined to betray the Navy at some point, right? Jaguar D. Saul?
Well, but I guess one thing I could say here is the brutality of the pacifistas maybe could be a determining factor. Maybe if he's like, oh, we're cutting off all the cameras to kill everybody and the government's going to sweep it all up. That could maybe be something that could stir him to
not killing Ace. I would do it just to save my grandson. Fuck the pirates getting killed.
I know, but this is just the way I see it. What he had probably had to put in, 30 years of loyal service. Hey, don't be a pirate. You're gonna be on the wrong side one day. It's gonna go wrong for you one day. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. How many times could somebody touch a hot stove and before you have to let them get burned? You know what I mean? So I told you not to make a podcast mocking Israel. This is what happens.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like a heckin' bootlickerino, but I'm just,
You cannot ask what they were doing in those tunnels in a YouTube video. Like, you should have known better. Like, Garp, I don't know, I feel like you should be on our side on this one. Like, isn't it kind of fucked up what they were doing? Yeah, just, you shouldn't have talked about it. I warned you. Okay, I guess you're the good guy, Garp.
What I would like to see is, if, once again, as I mentioned, if what I'm seeing here with Whitebeard being stabbed is truly what it appears to be. I guess, not that Luffy wasn't already linking up with the Whitebeard pirates already, but I'm looking for some real, like, team combo action, especially if we can get, like, Ace's cuffs unlocked and he's powered up or whatever. Like, if we have, like, Ace, Luffy, and, like, Marco, like, all triple teaming.
Diamond Jozu.
Yeah, I feel like Diamond Jozu would be probably good resistance.
He's blocking Mihawk slashes like it's nothing, Who can cut diamonds, huh? Can magma melt a diamond? I doubt it. Certainly light should reflect off of it and fucking scatter and hit everybody else like a shotgun.
That would be, you could probably use that against the pacifista shots as well, so I feel like, Squard or Sward or whatever the guy's name was that stabbed Whitebeard, you might have to be the first target if it, like I said, if this is what it appears to be. But, Buggy, pull him off the camera, uses human shield ability again, to maybe there's some more potential there. Shoot some muggy balls up at the in the faces of the giants, or I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities. But
And I think now that we're at Marineford, you probably can do every character in the Burning Blood video game. I think they're all there. I think it was made around like chapter 750-ish. And you already know Doflamingo and all the admirals, and like maybe Sengoku, only his power you wouldn't know, but maybe we'll find that out sooner than later.
Well, I don't think I've booted up Burning Blood for probably like 2 months, so I've been waiting on it. I got it on my gaming laptop. I'm gonna have to check out some of that stuff, some of those bounty missions and things. I could probably actually play the story mode. And
yeah, you should become the story mode is just the story of Marineford, actually. So give it another week or two, and then you could actually play through it. But if you become like an Ivankov main, wouldn't that be so delightful? Doing the galaxy wink. He makes like 12 shadow clones, and they can all wink at you. That was crazy.
If it's anything like Rob Lucci's power, where he can just shoot something across the map over and over again and nonstop.
Tempest kick. Did you notice the one panel of old lady Suru in the Marines using her power? Do you remember what that was?
I remember her saying something like, now I have to get involved. That might have been a flashback. I remember seeing her for the panel, but I don't know if I really...
There's like a clothesline, and people were hanging on it like sheets, talking about how she cleaned them, which I think it's fucked up. The only powerful female Marine has like the clothesline, like laundry ability. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding? But he's not kidding.
Hey, get in where you fit in. It is what it is. So, she ain't gonna be Diamond Jozu. It is what it is.
The only female warlord is, I'm so sexy, I make you hard. And then the old lady does laundry. Like, come on. Whatever.
They're both extremely powerful abilities, though. I mean, maybe they're a little stereotypical, but I feel like, yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. Kaku's probably gonna be my punching bag for Devil Fruits for a while. He was Blue No until he could turn Luffy's face into a door and make him go flipping around.
Yeah, you hated the door fruit for nothing. That door fruit was always good. I would love to have that fruit.
It just, I mean,
you can turn anything into a door.
It showed its potential to me. I wasn't feeling it at first, so now Kaku has to be my punching bag. That turning into a giraffe versus...
Well, to be fair, even Kaku's the punching bag for, like, in his own group. Like, they're constantly mocking him and he's defending it. Like, no, I actually like being a giraffe. So, if anything, you're just joining in on a poor bullied victim.
But just like Crocodile told me many moons ago, I think that conflict in Alabasta was like volume 20. So, it just goes to show how many moons ago that was. But you can always harness greater potential with your Devil Fruit power. So Kaku's got to figure it out. He had some abilities, time to learn some more. And
hey, here's something. We see all these little flashbacks to young Luffy and Ace, and they say, oh, did you know if we drink from each other's sake cups, we'll be brothers for life? Which, in that case, me and Eggy have been brothers for probably over half a decade now. Lots of shared drinks. But in that panel, when you see the little sake cups there, did you notice maybe there might have been a third one? You could barely see it in the panel. Maybe there's a third sake cup there in that flashback.
I don't think that I paid attention to that, to be honest.
Yeah, my first time through, I did not notice either, but maybe there's a third brother, but could it be? Who else are they sharing drinks with as children? Garp?
Maybe Shanks? I don't know.
Maybe.
They didn't. I guess Ace was already gone by the time Shanks came around, from my understanding.
I think in this we see Ace left 3 years before Luffy did. Luffy leaves at age 17, which means Luffy was 14 here, and he got his Devil Fruit power from Shanks, when he was like 7?
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah, so I don't know what the crossover with the two characters would be.
Probably I'd say it wasn't Shanks because I think...
we're looking at chapter 558 if you want to see this panel, by the way.
I believe it was in Ace's flashback, that might have been in 552, where he meets or he's talking to Shanks and like mentions something about knowing Luffy. Or I guess I'm a little rusty.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they meet up like in a cave, and he's like, "Hey, I don't want to fight. I want to praise you. You're my, brother's friend." So yeah, I guess after that encounter, Shanks maybe did not come back.
Yeah, I
again.
guess just off because even on the like the lip of the cup off the left, like even that little bit could be.
Well, you could kind of see like the shadow of a third cup,
yeah.
maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's extremely subtle.
My eye went to I was like, oh, but then I seen the shadow down there, and that one's a little more clear because you don't have the border of the lip of the cup there to kind of make you think, but yeah, there's
Do you think it could be Kuina, Zoro's girlfriend, says, "I wish I was a man"? Maybe she goes off, finds Ivankov, gets the sex change operation to be a boy, then meets Ace and Luffy and becomes the third brother.
Becomes Crocodile.
Crocodile's Luffy's mom and brother the whole time, and he didn't remember.
The words Kuina and cock combine into Crocodile.
Cockina? Now we're cooking with gas. Any final thoughts or theories before we get the hell out of here, Aggie?
Well, I guess my first thought was, okay, Whitebeard just really got stabbed. It's gonna be like the make you go into overdrive moment. I think there's still some of that there that's possible, but I feel like more so Luffy is gonna get Ace out of the cuffs. I think they're all gonna power up and kind of just go super mode together. Kind of that's where my heart is at. I almost hope that the next chapter is just like Crocodile like pulls the sword out and was like, oh, now you got me amped up. I needed a little something to to really get me going, but I don't know. It seemed a little heavy. But then again, I feel like we've been getting that in our cliffhangers lately. Like it seems really heavy, and then like the next chapter after like 2 panels, it's like, okay, yeah, that was a little something. Oh yeah, Gold Roger, yeah, I know, yeah, that's Ace's dad. It's all good, whatever, it's all cool. So like in my heart of hearts, I feel like I want it to. I don't want to lose Whitebeard. He seems like a nice guy. I don't want him to die right now to be the tragic
a little bit of freezing
hero
action.
that Gold Roger was to inspire the Golden Age of piracy, but there's a well there that I can't ignore.
Okay, I think we're good now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it caught it all.
So I can see the parallels between Gold Roger dying with his terminal illness and Whitebeard being sick and dying here for some reason. I don't want it to happen, but I could see it, and I could see it then powering everybody up to. But
Ace has 2 fathers die in a similar way. It is what it is.
And maybe.
Okay, go ahead, but.
Well, maybe it could stimulate this response that's like, it makes him go super powerful. And then, maybe after like a huge burst of power that does something big, then maybe Whitebeard picks himself back up and was like, oh, I got you, didn't I? Haha. Listen, I just don't want Whitebeard to die right now. That's my top of mind. Like, Whitebeard, come on. Like, I don't know what's going on here, but I don't want you to die. You're a cool dude. I want to see more of what you have to offer.
You want to become his son.
I
like
want to be
that
taken
panel
in
when
with the rest of
he's reaching down, "Be my son." He's all on board.
Marco says, we didn't have anywhere else to go, so he took us in. I'm feeling like Whitebeard. He's already my father figure. He's the man that I've been waiting to guide me and lead me, and I can't have him die so soon. But so,
and Ace feels the same way.
I'm hopeful that this is just a misdirection for some really great stuff to come. That's gonna really help our heroes get the victory they need.
Well, tune in next week to find out if Whitebeard survives getting stabbed by Squard. And I gotta go pee really bad, so one piece, people.